Welcome to Canadians with Disabilities and Their Allies. My name is Brent Frain. I'm the host. The show is also known as PWD Allies Podcast. Check it out on your favorite app where you find it best suited for you. Listen to it while you're on the go. You name it. It's all there. So check it out. Today, I have Jeff Leggat joining me from Disability Action of Canada. Hi, Jeff. How are you doing?
Hey Brent, hey Neil, how you guys doing?
Hi.
Oh, really good. Thanks. Yeah, it's great to have you join us on today on this sober, conversation regarding the Canada Disability Benefit. What a slap in the face that is.
It's it is an embarrassment. It should be an embarrassment. They keep talking about their talking points of being the first ever established federal benefit for disability. It wasn't. It's
Yeah.
they had a federal disability benefit before, so they got the talking point wrong, and how beautiful it is, and blah blah blah. But let me tell you, it should be an embarrassment to Justin Trudeau, Chrystia Freeland,
Yeah.
Kamel Cara, and even Carla Qualtrough,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it is rolled out. They ignored every bit of feedback from people in the community, in the disabled community, from Disability Without Poverty, the national advocacy group that is right in with them, giving them feedback step by step.
Mhm.
Dr. Michael Prince, based out of Victoria, who was on the board, national board for input. They ignored
Mhm.
everything he had to say, and he actually resigned over that because
Oh,
why bother when you're giving your professional doctorate level input into such a much needed benefit to lift people out of poverty, out of government
Yeah.
imposed poverty, to lift
mhm.
them up so the community as a whole in Canada can be lifted up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every single penny that this Canada disability benefit would be or will be or was supposed to be gets put back into communities across Canada. Every single penny goes into local communities, goes into given to landlords, given to grocery stores, given to all the shop owners that cut hair, that make clothes. It all stays in Canada, and it stays in the communities in which disabled people live.
Yeah.
Not
It's
a penny.
it's 666 pennies,
Well,
Jeff.
yeah, it was supposed to be
A
much
day.
more. So all that money
Mhm.
should have been staying in the communities, and not a penny
Mhm.
would be hoarded in a bank account. Not a
Mhm.
penny would be given offshore.
Yeah.
People on disabilities can't really afford to do anything besides live,
Yeah.
Mhm.
exist, survive, eat, all that kind of stuff. And we've been in survival mode for so long in this country, just trying to make it to the next day, and going without meals, and going without clothes and haircuts and personal hygiene, and going without necessary medications and medical aids. It's time that a poverty level is reached right across the board to lift Canada up as a whole.
Yeah.
What they come out with? $6.66 a day, and they were so
Yeah.
proud of that.
And,
Six
and
six.
there was a recommendation that was out there for $1,700 as a top up on top of provincial and federal and territorial provinces in
Yeah.
Canada.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's what we really have to harp in on or zone in on is this idea that, the CDB has been around for like 4 years now. And from the very beginning, from the very, very beginning, it was promised, it was advertised as poverty level support.
Historic.
And this is why, like, we've talked now a couple of times on the last couple of podcasts about this whole bait and switch thing that
Mhm.
probably went on
Mhm.
because and I shared that, you've had private conversations with Sheila Malcolmson. Brent's had conversations with Sheila, like you two together have had conversations, and Sheila Malcolmson herself has said that they were targeting the 21 to $2,200 a month range, like the
Yeah,
LICO amount, right?
yeah, yeah.
They were
Yeah.
targeting that. So that's proof that when she was having conversations with the federal government,
Yeah,
they were targeting that LICO amount, which is the poverty level amount.
yeah.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden it's like, whoops, sorry, bait and
Yeah.
switch. We're gonna change it to $200 a month now.
Just to clarify, Neil, they were targeting the market basket measure.
Yeah, okay.
Which is
I always
low.
mix those two up. So
It's the
yeah,
lower of the two official
yeah, okay.
poverty. For those out there that don't know, there's two official poverty levels of Canada. LICO is low income cutoff, and MBM is market measure, market basket measure.
Mhm.
Market
Yeah.
basket measure is lower of the two. It's more refined and it's more variable based on where you live, the population of the city, your province, blah, blah, blah. It was about 2,200 and 2,204 in 2023. So last
Oh,
year,
Okay.
2204.
Okay.
LICO is low income cutoff, which they usually use towards immigration and refugees and sponsorship, and it's about 2,700.
Oh wow,
wow.
that is a
Yeah.
big difference.
So there's
Okay.
a gigantic difference between these two official poverty
Okay.
levels.
Because I think the last time you were on talking about it, I think you had said that there was only about $100 difference between the two.
No, I've
Yeah,
looked into it more, and over the last, it used to be
it
closer,
used
but
to be.
over the
Okay.
last couple of years, it's really marginally. They've really increased the LICO
Oh, okay.
based on the increase of living, cost of living, and stuff like that. But they
Yeah.
haven't increased the MBM.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, especially with the MBM, I mean, they didn't even reach that to the lowest mark. They
Uh,
reached $6.66 a day. I mean, wow, something
that's
messed up really bad there.
plain
A
evil.
deal with the devil.
A plain
Yeah,
evil amount. I want them to be embarrassed. I want them to
Yeah,
be
it
so
is
embarrassed.
embarrassing. I mean,
Uh,
yeah,
Shout out to Vashi Capellos for her amazing interview.
great
Finally,
interview, great
we have
interview.
fabulous.
a we have
Fabulous
a
interview.
hard-hitting reporter, real journalist that's not going to throw softballs at the government for their shenanigans.
Mhm.
Vashi, thank you so much. That was beautiful. We need all the reporters in Canada. Oh, there was also someone oh, City TV. There was someone on City TV or CTV. I got to bring that up next time. He was also good about it. He lashed into this Canada disability benefit. I got to bring him up because kudos need to be given to people
Mhm,
that are putting truth to power in this
Mhm.
country and not allowing the government to get away with their shenanigans.
mhm.
The part that came out of the interview that really stood out to me, Jeff, was the that from Canal saying, "Well, this is just the beginning.
Oh,
There's still more to do. Like just the
that
beginning." I'm
is
thinking, beginning.
that's
What have
the
you been doing for the last 2 years?
We've only had 4 years. We've only had
yes.
4 years.
Only had 8 years since he came into power, and he made a
Yeah,
Yeah,
promise. So, I mean, what have you been doing for 8 years?
yeah,
yeah.
Here's the thing: it's a talking point, and it's the same as a talking point. Like in provincially, the Sheila
mm,
Malcolm symbols say we've raised disability
Yeah.
income support since we've been empowered. The BC NDP
yeah.
five
5 times.
times, 7 times, whatever it is.
Yeah,
Mhm.
But it's if you look at it, if you raise something up by such a little amount that it doesn't make a difference,
yeah,
Yeah.
all you're doing is giving yourself self glorification, self
Yeah.
gratitude for nothing. So I mean, what
Yeah,
talking points?
the one talking point that she did that bugged me. I remember, when they changed the shelter rate from 375
Oh,
to 500, and she says
500.
we've raised the shelter rate by 33%, and
yeah.
it sounds so good, right? You go 33%, but then
Oh boy.
when you realize how low it was, it's
Yeah.
like big deal.
But
Anybody
yeah,
can
but then
manipulate
they go a year
numbers.
and they skip a year. Yeah.
Yeah, anybody can manipulate numbers to make it sound so good. But what she didn't put in there was it's only for those that are paying market rent. It's
Yeah.
not for a lot of people who are not for disabled people who are homeless, without shelters, who are in
Mhm.
Yeah.
subsidized housing. They got nothing. So you
Yeah.
Mhm.
increase that 33% of such a low number to begin with, and only for a percentage of the people. So
Mhm.
ridiculous.
Yeah. No,
Like,
Well,
we always talk. Sorry, Brent. I was just gonna make the
yeah.
little point of we always talk about, or you always talk about together. We talk about the whole idea of like PWD versus PWD.
Yeah.
You over here deserve this much, or
yeah.
and maybe you over here deserve this, but maybe not. There's all this like divide and conquer stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just like so stupid.
It's
It's like pinning disabled people against disabled people. I mean, we're all citizens. We should all have our human rights met. I mean,
It's all
a standard of living. I mean,
yeah,
and they're not even meeting the standard of living. And it's like provincial will blame the feds, and the feds will
yeah.
blame the provincial, and then
It's
that's
a
why nothing ever gets done.
It's a
Mhm.
system designed to make sure disabled people don't have a voice or any power in this country.
Yeah.
Having 12 separate provinces and the territories also being separate, having them being run by different disability ministries, so all
Hmm.
different levels of acceptance, medical assessments, designations, financial support, rules,
Hmm.
and stuff like that. You are making sure that no one can really get together and be a one voice saying, hey, I'm
Yeah.
Canadian first. I love it when
Yeah.
people come on my posts and say, oh, it's not a federal issue, why are you getting mad at them? I'm
Yeah.
not a British Columbian, I'm a Canadian who
Exactly.
lives in British Columbia.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to live in Manitoba next year. Maybe I want to live in Newfoundland for a couple of years. That's my choice as a Canadian, and I'm not going
Hmm.
to go through all the rhetoric of losing disability status and having to go through that every time I move. All the whole thing is ridiculous.
Well,
So
Exactly.
well,
it's,
Jeff, like I know you're a man of faith and so am I.
yeah,
And it's like I forget it was like a few months, quite a few months ago actually. My pastor did a sermon. I mean he was just I forget even what it was about, but he just kind of blurted out it was kind of a key point in the sermon. He said that people in power have the ability to either help or oppress.
yeah,
Hmm.
That was his talking point. So the whole sermon was about that, and it wasn't necessarily to be political. It was just that was the nature of the sermon. It was like people in power have the ability to help or oppress,
yes,
and that's what I wish all governments would really focus on. Is like, are you going to help
yeah,
or are you going to oppress?
yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
you
Good
know,
points.
yeah.
Absolutely. Based on that too, I also talked to Alistair McGregor this
Oh yeah.
3 days ago, Saturday. And he and behind the scenes, he, Bonita, Elisa Marie, and Jagmeet have been asking the liberals for a better benefit, and they've been told flat out, no, there's no money. So, which
Oh.
is also one of those talking points. And I wanted to make this very clear. If in Canada we are intentional and purposeful in our acts and will and design to end poverty in Canada, there's always money.
Mhm.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
government, the old rhetoric, there's not enough money to go around, is
Yeah.
the way to dismiss people, dismiss that, and hide behind their own misgivings, misdeeds, and choosing to allow this one, the
Mhm.
corporations, to forego $5 billion in unpaid taxes through offshore havens, through tax evasions. That's $5 billion there. We're paying $46.8 billion a year in interest to the
Ooh.
Bank of Canada on the loans and the money that was thrown out to people over the last 8 years. We're paying almost $50 billion in interest to the Bank of Canada.
Ooh.
That's more than the total amount given to the provinces for health care.
Hmm.
How are we doing that? And why are we paying so much to the Bank of Canada? So, you know
Mm.
what I mean? We have the
Yeah.
ability, if we have the purpose and the intention, we can end poverty across the board. So the idea of having not enough money is just bullshit.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's always excuses from the governments, right? Of why they don't want to do certain things, or oh, there's more to do. The more to do, that line more to do, it's always just an excuse of putting it off to another rainy day. And then when that rainy day comes, well, yeah, I'll have to talk to my other counterparts back and forth. And yeah, exactly, Jeff. I mean,
Yeah.
you're bang on that.
If I can find billions of dollars by sitting here on the internet and saying, hey, wait a minute, what about this? What about
Mhm.
this? What about this? Then why can't people in government say, hey, wait a minute, maybe we should be doing this. Maybe we need to do that. Their talking points are about as useless as the word unprecedented in today's media. I hate that word because it's so overused. So
Mhm.
the government's words of "there's not enough money, there's no more money," such crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's taglines. I know that you had mentioned well, off earlier. We were discussing about something like some of your posts. You mentioned about tagging MPs.
Yes, my call to action this week, which I haven't done a call to action for a while. Call to action: tag all the liberal and NDP and conservative posts. I want them all on board. I want them all to see what a dismal failure the Canada Disability Benefit is. I use hashtag fix the benefit now.
Mhm.
Lines like the Canada Disability Benefit is a joke and
Mhm.
it's a
Yeah.
slap in the face to all 1.5 million. The talking points. We need Canadians to know it's 1.5 plus million disabled Canadians, not 600,000 that
Yep.
are eligible for this extra benefit. It's 1.5. So
Mhm.
let's the government know that,
Yeah.
which is also part of the fact the people said no barriers. The people that were
Yeah.
asked for their input into this Canada
Yeah.
Disability Benefit were saying adamantly no barriers to this benefit. Everybody who's medically assessed and designated as a person with disability in whatever province or territory they live
Yeah.
should be and has to be eligible for this benefit. So what they do, they tied it to the disability tax credit, which everybody knows
Yeah.
is so difficult to get because the Canada Revenue Agency, who's in charge of approving that, is actively told to deny, like they're an
Yeah.
insurance company.
Well,
Yeah.
and again, I've made the point several times. I mean, I'm always talking about pink unicorns and how
Ugh,
things are perverted, right?
yeah.
And the last just yesterday we did a podcast and I was talking about my white shirt, right? And this white shirt will never be black. So I mean, if the government says that this white shirt is black,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's a lie. I mean, I
Yeah.
know this shirt is
Yeah.
white.
Yeah.
So don't tell me
Yeah.
this shirt is black. And there's
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
much of government policy that says, you know what, Neil, your shirt is black,
Absolutely.
or
Yeah.
your survivor's pension is no longer a protected income. It's a pink unicorn now. Sorry.
Or the
Yeah.
And they're doing the same thing. They're doing the same thing now with the Canada Disability Benefit now, and just rejigging all these definitions and saying, well, really, we defined poverty level as $200,
yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
just
Oh
like,
boy.
no, you didn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
you know.
I was gonna say on that point is, oh, I just totally lost my way of. I just like the pink. All I
Oh,
have is pink or ponies or something, or
sorry,
unicorns in
it's
my
my
head.
fault. My fault. I'll retreat back into the corner so that you
Uh-oh.
can
No,
get
no
your.
problem. Not pink ponies. I'll never think of pink ponies. Pink unicorns.
Yeah.
um, I have to say that it's time for us to tag and make Justin, Christia, Kamal, and Qualtro and the Liberal Party Canada embarrassed for rolling this out. Tag
Mhm.
point 666 per day is evil. Tag point fix a benefit now. Tag point Canada Disability is a joke and
Mhm.
slap in the face to all 1.5 million disabled Canadians, not a
Mhm.
Mhm.
portion thereof. We stand together, and we don't you know what I mean? It's none of this divide and crap gonna be allowed.
Mhm.
Yeah, that disability tax credit. The government was warned: do not use that as a barrier, as a
Yes.
stepping stone in order to get that benefit. It should automatically go to all. MP Mike Morris had distinctly said that do not make this as a criteria, and they actually agreed with him.
And
That's the
Bonita
part that really
Zerillo is
what.
also adamant that
And
Yeah.
then
no.
so then they say, well, all we just got rid of the word not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
We
Yeah.
just got rid of
Yeah.
the word not. We did what you said.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
We just
exactly.
got rid
Yeah.
of the word not.
So it's time, while we embarrass the federal government, it's time for us to go back to each of our premiers and tell them. Well, you know what's funny is the premiers have been in a beautiful position to wait and see what happens with the federal disability benefit. So they've had no inclination or no desire to raise their supports. Besides Ontario, who's raising it by a ridiculous amount,
$58.
$58. They did that a couple of years ago, right? 58
Yeah,
bucks.
as of July 1st of this year of 2024 is going to go $58 now at the high cost of market rent.
Yeah.
Maybe $50. So a person's going to get maybe $8 left. I mean, I guess a couple bucks more than the $6.66. I mean,
Ontario is one of
what's that going to buy you?
I'm following the chat here.
Yeah.
It's quite lively right now, and
nice.
The conversation's all about finding rents. There's a lot of people in chat right now talking about how hard it is to find affordable housing, and what a precarious thing that is now. And that is why the Canada Disability Benefit was going to be it was held out as a promise. Here you go. This is a promised thing to make sure that nobody has precarious housing.
Yes.
And here's the chat. The live chat is going off on all about
rents.
Not being able to find good housing.
And that's the thing, everyone in the chat right now, and that's one thing that I really advocate very strongly about is that, again, about autonomy, about people should, have enough money to basically pay for the rents that they feel is best suited for themselves. Now, the government, I agree that, yes, we need all sorts of housing built. Okay, and I think everyone agrees about that.
Yes.
Now, people should be able to live in the community that they want to be in. And now, a lot of the MLAs in every province, they bang that drum of saying that people should be able to be in their community that they want to be in. They grew up in that community, they want to be in that community because they get that sense of connection within that community, right? Now the government will build or have contractors build subsidized housing, which is great. But the government will now say that you need to now be in that community because we're building that housing in that community. You need to live there. Yes. Now, I guess the end of the day is people just want cheap housing. I mean, they want affordable housing that they can afford. So again, that's why that Canada Disability Benefit would have been MPs, MLAs, historic if you would have done the right thing. So $1,700 above your provincial, you can now afford that market rent. So now you got that cheap housing. Then rather than maybe being on a waiting list for over 20 freaking years. And in order to get that, you got to be homeless or your housing has been sold or condemned. And now you're going to be on the street hoping that, well, now I'm on a waiting list. Well, why not just give everybody a rate increase and let them make a decision and get into the housing? If they want subsidized housing, great. If they want to pay market housing, great. I mean, end of the day, just get people into the housing. We need to get people housed, not unhoused.
Yes. What's so difficult also is the fact that not only are we advocating for proper financial support, no less than poverty level, financial support to provide dignity, respect, and the ability to get out of survival mode and into living mode, into participation in community mode, into participation in life mode. But we also have to fight for subsidized housing, for proper housing, for blah, 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 because the subsidized housing unit has also gotten corrupted. I know in BC, the subsidized housing thing is very corrupt. And the very few units are actually given to people with disabilities or low income or what have you. It's very political. I've been on the list for 5 years with not an end in sight. So we have to also focus on safety. We need safe housing that provides safety and dignity, safety and security, not just a slum built out of, you know what I mean? Out of whatever particle board. So with a toilet and a sink.
And we've talked about this before too, Brent, is here in BC at least, it was up until the very early 90s that people here in BC, people that were disabled, had something called a disability pension.
Yeah, that's right.
It used to be a disability pension. And why was it a disability pension? It was because back until the early 90s, having a disability was a respected thing. There
Yes.
was a respect and honor there that the government was saying, you know what? I know that you're a little bit behind the eight ball because of medically assessed disability.
Mm, yeah.
So we as the government acknowledge that you're a little bit behind the eight ball. So here you go. Here is the guaranteed income that you need as a pension.
Yeah.
We will respect and honor that you're a little bit behind the eight ball with a medically assessed disability, that we will give you the respect and honor of a disability pension. And ever since the early 90s, it's been just slowly eroded and slowly eroded and slowly eroded until now it's income of last resort. And I tell you, that is such a slap in the face.
Yes.
Income of last resort, pink unicorns out the yin yang, it's
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah, like the one behind.
it just
Yeah.
pisses me off to no end, right?
That's
Well, yeah, and then just recently, in BC, in the province of British Columbia, there was a complete overhaul. They call it a complete overhaul of the legislation.
But really,
Yeah.
it was a rearranging of the deck
The
chairs.
Titanic chairs, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? If they want to do a complete overhaul, then just bring up the rates up to no less than poverty level.
Yeah.
That would be the easiest way to do it, and it's not difficult to do. It's all like a bait and switch, right?
Let's make this very clear. What we are advocating for, the three of us, the thousands of us across the country, first and foremost is financial support no less than, equal, and tied to, or greater than and tied to the official poverty level of Canada. Take it out of the hands of the government's whim and put it attached to legislation to the official poverty level of Canada, which is indexed and increased as per each year's increase in cost of living. That's what we're asking for. Poverty level. It's amazing to me that disabled people have to fight for poverty level. It's amazing to me the government of this country, both provincially and federally, have allowed the rates to fall so dramatically and disgustingly below poverty and get away with it.
Well, here's an example. I'll throw it out here for you, Jeff. So as we know in BC, we annually the rents go up in market housing. They go up every year. Depends on what the formula is on the inflation. So this year rents have gone up 3.5%. So if your market rent is actually getting up there, which most places keep climbing, on average, I mean 3.5%. So that's a good increase. Ours went up by just a few cents less than $50. So that's like another $25 out of each of our pockets for market rent. But so here's the point: is I was joking around with with one of my managers in the building. I mean, they're really they get it. Like they understand that the government has a responsibility to take care of their citizens. They're supposed to, they said, but unfortunately, they said this year they didn't give you an increase. They said, but we gave you an increase. We gave you an increase in your rent, and if you choose that you don't want to pay it, well, then you'll have to move. And I said, well, yeah, but so you give me an increase, but why didn't they give me an increase? They're like, I don't know. They said that's a choice that they decided not to do. They said you gave one last year to some. Why didn't they give one to you this year? I go, I don't know. They're like, you should ask the minister that. Why didn't they give you an increase this year? Your rent went up.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah. And so that's the point, is that I know in Ontario, like we were just discussing, is that they're going to get theirs increased in July of this year, and it's going to get tied to inflation.
Yeah.
BC chooses not to do that.
Yeah.
I know I asked the minister many times in the past, like prior predecessors, and they said that's just something that the government is not wanting to do at this time, and tied to inflation. I think, why? Like, bring it up to the poverty level, no less than poverty level. It's disgusting that they don't want to do that.
We have Dan in chat. He left a comment a while back here, but and we'll bring it back to the CDB a little bit. But he says, I have a question for Jeff. He says, what in Trudeau's cabinet made them think not including an immediate solution in this budget was wise going into an election?
I don't think, I'm going to say, I've been thinking about this the last couple of weeks. Trudeau made a promise 8 years ago towards disabled people and raising them and lifting them out of poverty. I don't think he ever had the intention or the purpose to do that.
It doesn't seem so, no.
His
Yeah.
focus has always been on money for himself, glorification for himself, spotlight for himself. And he's been doing everything, and the Liberals have been doing everything in their power over the last 8 years to not provide a disability benefit and to do
Yeah.
everything they can to make it as useless and as little and you know what I mean, as they possibly can.
Yeah.
So I don't think he gives a crap about disabled people, and I don't think that the disabled people aren't the. I believe he thinks disabled people don't have much power in Canada anyway. So
Yeah.
how's it going to hurt him?
I
Well,
remember hearing on the BC legislature as well, listening to one of the broadcasts just not too long ago, and the finance minister in British Columbia stood up and said that no party likes to deal with poverty.
Yeah, was
And
that
the
Katrina?
current finance minister, unfortunately, she's decided not to seek re-election
That's
after.
Katrina.
Yeah, Katrine Conroy. But she
Okay.
said
Yeah.
no party wants to deal with poverty or
Well,
likes poverty.
you know,
Wow.
before we launched the show, we were talking about how Trudeau was trying to get basically cred by having a photo op with Rick Hansen, right?
Oh yes. Okay.
Oh,
And
right.
I mean that to me is you know, he's trying to say, well, look how much I respect the people with disabilities because I'm having a photo op with Rick Hansen.
Yeah.
You know,
Let me pull you in on that one.
Oh, yeah.
We one of the people that I always forget about in social media is Katie Telford. Katie Telford is at that level in government where she has the ear of the prime minister 24/7. Katie Telford is behind the scenes like Stephen like his old advisor used to be that resigned. So I put a post out to Katie Telford the other day saying how the Canada Disability Benefit is a joke, slap in the face. It's disgusting. What's wrong with the Liberals? Are they corrupt? Are they stupid? Are they privileged? Are they entitled? Are they liars? And then today, out of the blue, thank you to all the people on social media that have been reposting the Katie Telford thing and reposting all the discuss with the Canada Disability Benefit and the Vasha Capellos interview with Kamal Kara. Today, out of the blue, he has a photo op with him and Rick Hansen sitting in the Prime Minister's office from years ago, talking about the Rick Hansen Foundation, 40 years, blah blah blah. But it seemed quite intentional to have this kissy lovey moment with a disabled person on his social media to try to make the Canadian people think that that they like the disabled people and all disabled people are treated the same with respect and dignity. We are not.
Yeah, it seems like a narrative that he wanted to spin out there to kind of give a false sense of reality.
Yes.
And here's some new news that I had heard. Maybe I'll just get your feedback on it, Jeff. There was Jean Swanson. She's quite a strong.
We have to get her back. We have to get her back on because I loved that. I loved that show so much. Like that was one of my favorite shows, honestly. It really was great.
Yeah, and she had commented just recently about the government's new legislation that they put in place in Vancouver, British Columbia. If anyone who's watching the show right now or listening, you'd be quite familiar with the downtown east side. And we got decrepit SROs that are falling apart. They should be all, in my view, they should be all torn down and remodernized and give people the dignified housing that they need. Yes. But any case on that is there was new legislation that was passed stating that there's now vacancy control in those units, so that when the tenant moves out, a new tenant moves in, they're going to be paying the same rent rate as the current tenants who was living there. Now, in market housing, the rest of the market housing, we don't have that.
No, they don't have that.
So, like one of our former tenants who used to live above us here, which is sad, they moved. Why? Because they couldn't afford the high rent. Yeah. And number two, they actually left when they got their rent increase. They actually left when it was going to take effect. And they said they wanted to benefit the new tenant so that they wouldn't have to pay the high market rent. Their rent was going to be going up to $18.20. They left when it fell $17.50. So now the new tenant moved in they pay $17.50. So I'm sure that the landlord must be pretty mad right now because now
Yeah,
they're not getting more money. And so
exactly.
there needs to be some, I don't like, I'm kind of tossed on it though, Jeff, because it's like if they do put vacancy control in, some landlords are going to say, well, we're not making our major profit. Well, I'm sorry, but these places have been paid off decades and
Yeah,
decades ago, right? It's all monopoly. It's all monopoly.
it's all
It's
based
all
on
treated as a
capitalism.
commodity, and
Yeah.
housing should not be treated as a commodity. It should be treated as a place.
Ah, yay, exactly. Good talking point. Housing is not for profit, it's a necessity of life. So
Yeah.
It's not?
me as being a citizen.
Yeah.
My question for where is this person from? What was her name again? Jean?
Jean Swanson. She
Jean
lives in
Swanson.
Vancouver. She was a former
Vancouver.
city councillor.
She's
in
an
Vancouver.
anti-poverty advocate.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me
Very,
pull-
very, a very sweet lady, very nice lady. And I look forward to having her back.
Which episode was that we had? I think it was
Oh.
I know what it was. Episode 49. If people go back into the into my the PWD podcast, I have a podcast list for 2023 and a podcast list for this year 2024. So if you go back to the podcast list for 2023, she's episode number 49, and it was a great episode. So I really encourage anybody that wants to hear that interview or
Yes.
episode to go back and listen. It was great. I loved it so much.
Thanks.
Yeah, me too.
Because she bashed Mike Harcourt, and I had this huge smile, like maybe not on my face, but I was like smiling so much inside. It's just like it was great. It was great.
Well, yeah, because it kind of gets back to when we were talking about when disability, checks. I mean, they used to be as a pension, and I think it was around 93, 92, 93. They stripped it, and my doctor was foaming at the mouth at the time because he says, "Well, it's a pension," and I said, "No, apparently it's not." He goes, "Well, when did this change?" My doctor didn't even know that it was changed, and he says, "What? They quietly decided to say what people don't have a pension anymore." He goes, "Seniors do. Disabled people should do too." He says, "As we get older, Brent, and as you get older, you're going to say, well, hey, I got a pension. I remember back when I was younger and they used to be a pension, they took it away. So what's the difference?" He says, "I mean, you're medically designated as a disabled person." He goes, "And I'm signing right here. I'm signing off on you."
Yeah.
And so and that's why he refused to sign the DTC. He says, because you are medically assessed as a disabled person in Canada, Brent. You live in BC, like you mentioned, Jeff. You are a citizen of Canada.
Yeah.
So you should be able to go anywhere. And that was his view. And that's when he argued with the government.
There's no need for having to requalify yourself every day, every program, every couple of years, every year. Once you're medically assessed and designated as a person with a disability through your doctor and a psychiatrist or psychologist or two professionals who have no skin in the game, the government can go kick a lemon.
I remember when they did a trial project back in in the early 2000s, where the government of the day had tried to basically get people to be reassessed to see if they were still disabled.
All the time.
I know. I had gone through that little hoopla, but I won. But yeah, it was a lot of anxiety for sure.
The old adage is, people are trying to rip off the government. People are trying to get free money. That's the whole focus point. I'm going to step out pretty soon, but I want to end on this. Neil, thank you for bringing that up about the pensions. We used to have respect for people in our communities that were differently abled, that needed love and support and financial support. As a farmer's son in the little community in Manitoba, as a conservative, lifelong conservative, my dad was very much a conservative. We took care of our own people in the community. Someone had a disabled daughter, son, sister, brother. The community made sure they didn't go without anything. They made sure they had food, they had shelter, they are taken to doctor's appointments, whatever, because it's expensive and it's not fair, and we all are part of the community. That's why when people say to me, well, the conservatives are, well, hate the disabled, blah, 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 it'll take us all the money away. I need to give people a chance, whether it's Pierre Poilievre in the Conservative Party, whether it's Jagmeet Singh, whether it's the Liberals, which are not showing that they're pulling the reins right enough. But
Yeah.
we need to give people the chance to say, wait a minute, as a lifelong conservative, my dad was, that's not the philosophy. Philosophy is to take care of people, and we need to get that
Yeah.
respect back.
Yes.
Liberals have done such a beautiful job of tearing down the worth of disabled Canadians with this MAID program.
Oh, I know.
A topic for another
Yeah.
time.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Tear down a worth of a person and say, hey, I know your life is kind of tough. Why don't you kill yourself for free? We'll even give you a doctor.
Right.
That, in our minds, destroys the value and worth of disabled
Mhm.
people as being
100%.
nothing more than a
100%.
burden to society.
Yeah.
We need to get back up and have a love for everybody, have support for everybody, and be a Canadian community again.
Mhm.
Exactly. And with that being said, Jeff, I want to thank you for coming on today and talking about these pressing issues that aren't going away, and that we need to stand up as a unite across Canada as disabled citizens, and let the government know, of every government, doesn't matter which stripe it is, let them know it's not okay, that we need to fix this. No less than poverty level support for all disabled Canadians, 1.5 plus. And that number grows every year. Yeah, as we get older, we get more disabilities, either they're visible or more physical disabilities. And so we need to take care of our brothers and sisters, our sons and daughters, our caregivers. We all vote. We all vote, everybody. So let your vote count in the next election, either provincial or federally, which is next year, scheduled for next year. So, I mean, I'm not going to, basically have a crystal ball saying it's going to happen sooner. But we all vote, so let your vote count, and let them know that we need to get these rates now changed and effective immediately. Like, people's lives don't get put on hold, advocacy doesn't get put on hold. So we're going to keep on hammering away at every politician until they hear our voices. So we're going to be loud and clear.
Slam the federal politicians across the board for this pathetic disability benefit. It's a joke. In the meantime, pressure your premiers in each and every province. Hey, the feds are dropping the ball. Step it up, step it up, step it up. Let's get it increases. Bang, bang, bang.
Exactly.
On that note, have a beautiful day, you guys.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. We'll have you on again soon.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.